A huge EV scam just got exposed. EVs are turning into dead robots in cold winters, leaving EV owners shocked and stranded in the middle of nowhere. Thousands of EV owners rush to charging stations, but over 70% of the charging stations don't even work. And get this, EVs lose their charge almost twice as fast in winters. And in the middle of all this, the political leaders continue to lie to the public. EVs aren't the future. And if you were going to buy an EV, this video might change your mind forever. Are EVs a scam? Why won't EVs work in the winters? And most importantly, why is the government hiding this reality from us? Watch very carefully as we go through the harrowing stories of these folks who had to suffer due to an EV. EV charging stations are getting super crowded, and the current grid can barely keep up with the demand. The EV bubble is about to burst, and a huge market crash is ahead of us. EVs and cold weather go together like oil and water. You've probably heard EVs are the future, right? Well, guess what? Old Man Winter didn't get the memo. When the temperature drops, EVs start acting like they've seen a ghost. We're talking about a range drop of a bone-chilling 41% in some cases. Imagine gearing up for a road trip and your trusty EV tells you, "Sorry, Pops, I can't go that far." This is the biggest scam in the history of cars. Take Marcus Campbell in Chicago, for instance. This guy signs up with Uber thinking he's gonna make some quick bucks with his rented EV. But nope, the Windy City's freezing temps turned his workday into an extended stay at the charging station. For out of the 18 hours he rented his EV, he spent nearly 10 hours trying to charge it. And Marcus isn't the only one. This winter, EV drivers are finding themselves in a cold sweat over their car's dwindling range. We've got a record 1.2 million EVs sold in 2023, but now some drivers are getting the chills thinking, did I make the right choice? Because let's face it, waiting hours for your car to charge when it's colder than a penguin's beak outside isn't anyone's idea of fun. And the aftermath, people are rushing to exchange their brand new EVs for hybrids. And not just that, EVs are also killing people, which is something I'll talk about towards the end of the video. Here's where it gets even worse. The way EVs generate heat is like they're on a diet. They can't waste energy. In a gas car, you've got all this extra heat from the engine to keep you toasty. But in an EV, it's all on the battery's shoulders. And those batteries, by the way, they hate the cold more than cats hate water. Add a heater that sucks power like a thirsty vampire, and you've got the perfect storm. Even if you sit idle in an EV when the winter hits, you'll see the range drop by a good 40 to 50% easily. Imagine paying $60, $70, or even $100,000 MSRP for these so-called shiny futuristic cars, only to be hit with this. Right now, Chicago has become the hotspot of EV crisis cases, with 60% of the city's tow trucks busy towing stranded EVs. The experts at Consumer Reports tested some popular EV models and found that in winter, their batteries drop 25 to 35% in range. We're talking the Tesla Model Y, the F-150 Lightning, and even the costlier models from Lucid. Now let's talk about EV charging stations, because the government did invest more than $3 billion last year building them, right? Wrong. 3 in every 5 chargers are malfunctioning right now, while the ones that do work are either super crowded or have limited charging speed. Due to this, we're seeing massive graveyards of EVs parked up, out of charge, just sitting on the road gathering dust. And don't even get me started on how bad the situation is in smaller towns. Another horror story is from Javed Spencer, an Uber driver. This guy's Chevy Bolt turns into an oversized paperweight with just 30 miles left on the battery. He ends up needing a tow to the charging station, only to face a glacial wait of 5 hours for a charge that usually takes 1. Next up, we have a poor Tesla Model S owner. First, this guy's EV began to show various warning messages, and then it eventually stopped responding and left the man away from his family on Christmas Eve. And the worst part, despite being plugged into a supercharger for hours, the car just won't charge. And with cold weather and poor range, the charging costs are also shooting up since most people don't have the ability to charge their EVs at home. Okay, I get it. EV charging networks suck. But what about the people who have already bought one, or those who live in hot weather and don't have to worry about all this cold nonsense? Who said this is the only issue with EVs? Remember how I told you EVs are even killing people? Let me tell you all about that now. First, let's talk about the haunting case of Omar Owan. This is the stuff of nightmares. Owen, a doctor and father of 5, was driving his Tesla Model S when he crashed into a palm tree in Florida. The crash was bad, but what happened next was worse. The car's lithium-ion battery caught fire. Tragically, Owen was trapped inside and couldn't escape because the car's retractable door handles malfunctioned. It's a grim reminder of the potential dangers lurking in these high-tech vehicles. But Owen's case isn't an isolated horror story, unfortunately. We've seen Teslas going up in flames elsewhere too, like that shocking incident in a Shanghai parking garage. And it's not just Teslas. Other EVs are also part of this worrying trend. So what's causing all these EVs to turn into fireballs? It all comes down to their batteries. These lithium-ion powerhouses are great at storing energy, but they have a dark side. If they're damaged or have defects, they can enter a state called thermal runaway. This is basically a chemical meltdown where the battery gets hotter and hotter until it bursts into flames or even explodes. Now let's shift gears and talk about the reliability of EVs. A report from Consumer Reports has thrown a wrench into the works, revealing that EVs are dealing with nearly 80% more problems than gas or hybrid cars. The main culprits? Battery and charging issues, plus problems with battery panels and interior parts. And get this, plug-in hybrid EVs are even worse, facing 150% more problems than traditional vehicles. But wait, there's more. When it comes to repairing these high-tech rides, the costs can go through the roof. One guy in Canada got a scratch on his Tesla, and the repair bill was a jaw-dropping $60,000. Another guy faced a $50,000 bill just to replace his Tesla's battery. It's enough to make you think twice about going electric, isn't it? But it's not all doom and gloom. EV prices are dropping. Tesla's slashed its prices multiple times recently, and luxury brands like Audi and BMW are offering hefty discounts. However, the big automakers like General Motors and Ford are feeling the pinch. GM's CEO has even said they're not going down the budget EV route, aiming for luxury instead. Ford's under a $4 billion loss, selling EVs at a whopping loss of $36,000 per vehicle. And with the huge charging crisis, EV prices are only going to go further down. But what about those of us who have already purchased an EV and are riding this ticking time bomb? Firstly, stay calm. EVs can be finicky in cold weather, but there are steps you can take. If your EV refuses to charge, it could be due to the battery being too cold. Batteries are like people. They don't perform well when they're freezing. When the temperatures drop, the chemical reactions in the battery slow down, reducing its ability to accept a charge. In such a situation, your best bet is to try and warm up the battery. This can be done by simply driving your car for a short distance. Driving generates heat, which can help raise the battery temperature to a level where it can charge more efficiently. If driving isn't an option, turning on the car and letting it run for a bit might also help. However, be mindful of your remaining battery charge. You don't want to drain it further. But what if you're stuck and can't get the battery to warm up? This is where roadside assistance can come into play. At the end of the day, you'll only have to ask a gas car owner for help if you get stuck in such a situation. This begs the question, are we even ready to fully rely on EVs just yet? What do you think? Could EVs be just one big scam? Let me know down in the comments below. I just uploaded a video about groundbreaking news that could hurt the entire EV industry. Do check it out if you want to be truly shocked by what's about to happen with EVs.